The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. This is Wildcat Insider with the voice of the Wildcats, Wyatt Thompson, and KMAN Sports Director, Mitch Fortner.
Well, just like that around here, basketball season has come to an end. And a bummer, really was on Sunday. Bummer in Bramlage Coliseum as the K-State women's basketball team wraps up their year with a 63-50 loss to the Colorado Buffaloes, who will, starting next year, of course, will be once again a Big 12 rival. K-State men, their season wraps up in Iowa, or at Iowa, in Iowa City in the first round of the NIT. Get Wyatt's thoughts on the first 3 weeks of spring football. 3 weeks ago today, or tomorrow rather, so 20 days ago, is when spring football kicked off. We'll have K-State Athletics Director Gene Taylor on at 5:20, plus 2 K-State Wildcats on the men's side have jumped into the transfer portal. Welcome into another edition of Wildcat Insider. Mitch Fortner with the voice of the Cats, Wyatt Thompson, and AJ Shaw is in studio with us. Is that a blue polo? Is that gray?
It's blue.
Okay. It's one of those shirts. It's like, it could be blue. It could be gray.
Granted, I could be wrong. I'm kind of colorblind, but I think it's blue.
What is kind of colorblind? Either you're colorblind
no
or
idea,
you're not,
man.
right?
I am colorblind, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, for my money, that looks gray. But again, blue tint maybe, but more gray than blue for my money.
My mom's going to be texting me now saying, it's blue, honey. You're getting it wrong.
And that's okay.
Wyatt, what have you been up to? It's been, of course, a busy last couple of weeks, and you were in Iowa City not too long ago.
Yeah, and I got to start with the women here, okay? And we'll get to the men too, of course. But like you, I'm sad to see this season end. I think they were outplayed yesterday, if I'm being honest, and I think they played a team that was probably undervalued. I think I mentioned this to you. I saw them on opening night in Vegas when the K-State men played USC, which seems like forever ago, but they beat LSU that night in Vegas, and I knew then that they were going to be a tournament team, and the question would be how good. I thought they played really pretty well. They shot just ordinary, 35%, but they did such a good job, I think, of taking K-State out of their stuff. I felt like, in all honesty, they defended Aoka Lee as well as anybody I've seen in the last, I know Yoki missed last year, but this year and the year prior to that. Great tip of the cap to the fans. That place was humming yesterday, and I mean, even through a loss, I think you saw that they had a deep appreciation for this team. Disappointed, even some disappointed enough to say underachieved, and I get it. But dang, it's tough to see it come to a close. And as for the men, it was simply stated they weren't probably good enough in the first 8 or 10 minutes of the game. I mean, they let a guy go off for 17 points in just over 8 minutes and fought uphill all night and just couldn't get back all the way. So their season ends in frustration at 19-15. So, man, I feel bad for the girls, and we saw the emotion out of Gabby and others yesterday. And I thought Coach Mitty was all over it as usual when he said, when you invest as much as they have, it's going to hurt, and it hurt.
Where I was certainly more emotionally invested in the K-State women this year than I was the men, and what helps with that is that women's basketball, collegiately as a whole, is just now on another level. That helps with the star power.
Sure.
I think this whole season, I think the women's basketball season has been better than the men's. There's been more drama, crazier upsets. You have star power. You have an undefeated team in South Carolina that looks unbeatable. You have storylines all over the place. And if you guys been watching the women's NCAA tournament, there have been great games. There has been a ton of trash talk, and the Big 12 is doing a phenomenal job. all 7 teams won their first-round games.
Saw that.
K-State and Iowa State both lost yesterday. West Virginia will play Iowa tonight in Iowa City, and that'll be very interesting because you're talking about the team that forces the most turnovers in the nation against the best player in the nation offensively. So that will be a very interesting clash tonight at 7 o'clock on ESPN. But for K-State, and to tag on that this could be a special season, I think if you were familiar with the team, you could see it coming from a mile away. Yoki is back, a good recruiting class with Taryn Sides playing. Alexis has red shirts, and she's a really special player that will be coming here next season, or she's already here, but will be playing next season. The return of the Glenn twins, Serena Sundell, Gabby Gregory, who was certainly a leader last year without Aoka Lee, and they got off to an amazing start. Beat Iowa, they beat North Carolina, played Iowa again. They did lose, but you do beat Caitlin Clark again, and then they started 9-0 in Big 12 play. 3 of those wins, the last 3, were without Aoka Lee. I think, obviously, the way this team was just cruising and winning games and looking so good, looking like a Final Four team, that was just the groove was thrown off when Aoka Lee got hurt. Now, they were still able to win some games, but it was close. It was tougher, and still won some games, and then Yoki comes back. They just can't get over the hump against Iowa State. I felt like they never got back to the basketball they were playing before Yoki got hurt because they were, like I said, they were just in a groove. They were a cohesive unit that was playing the best defense than anybody else in America.
I don't disagree with that in any way. You said a lot there, and I think when you look at it, I think a lot of people will look back on the season and say they were as good as most, and I mean that sincerely, as good as most in January and February, or at least the first half of February. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I mean, they defended their tails off. They ripped through, and you mentioned 9-0 at one point. Even when Yoki went down initially, they hung in there and got that big win at Baylor and all of those kind of things. But I do think that they weren't playing as well towards the end of the regular season. Certainly there were some teams that had something to do with that, whether it be Texas or Iowa State or, subsequently down the road a Colorado. But, boy, when they were at optimum level, they were good to watch. They were really – they were a good team, man, both ends of the floor. Deep quality, and I think the turnovers yesterday it was just too much to overcome. Just simply stated, they did not play very well in the second half, and it cost them. It just did.
Now, I don't want to make it sound like I'm picking on her, but I will say, where K-State succeeded and where K-State did fall apart, it did gravitate around Serena Sundell. It was Serena that got K-State to that 9-point lead. She hit back-to-back threes. She was fouled on that second one and got the 4-point play. And all of a sudden, we're getting ready for halftime. K-State's up 9 and has the most momentum, more momentum they had probably, I feel like, in the Portland game 2 days prior.
Probably right.
They were just starting to feel it. The crowd was really into it. It was loud. 10,600, by the way. 10,692 is the official attendance. So it had appeared that not all the students used their tickets. But anyway, so K-State's up 9. You have about 3 minutes to go before half, and then here comes Colorado. Unfortunately, Serena had 3 straight turnovers. It's a 2-point game at halftime. K-State's up thanks to a heads-up play by Serena Sundell.
Right.
Inbounded the ball off the back of a Buffalo and scored it, got the shot off, and scored it with 0.1 on the clock, which it couldn't have been closer, obviously. But then in the second half, Serena Sundell, again, the intentional foul happened. With 39, it was tied at 39 in the third quarter. Just for some reason, from there on, K-State just did not have the offensive spark. They were doing so much right defensively. We saw how good K-State is defensively. They were getting breaks, but also making a ton of stops. Colorado did not score for like 6 minutes in the fourth quarter. But they just couldn't hit shots. They were turning it over way too much. Plus, give credit to Colorado and their athleticism because they killed K-State in fast break. It was 16-2 in fast break. K-State just didn't have an answer. They were losing track of Colorado's best scorers. Got to look up the name here real quick, but Maddie Nolan, who is a phenomenal three-point shooter.
Terrific.
She was left wide open 3 times in transition, and she would knock down those shots.
Yeah, and if it wasn't her, it was the Sherrod girl, who's very, very quick. And again, their numbers aren't eye-popping. Nolan was 3 out of 9, and Sherrod was 2 of 8. But I think if you look a little deeper into some of the other numbers, which we don't necessarily have to give here, they were good enough. Again, you go back and you look at Colorado had 12 offensive rebounds. I think that was a factor, even though, the numbers other than the 2 standout numbers are the points off turnovers were 19-9. The fast break points, Colorado led there 16-2. And you just, for me, that's the game. I will say, on the foul called on Serena, I did not agree with the call at all.
Yeah, it wasn't intentional. I agreed with
and
me.
That's what a flagrant 1 is supposed to be. And what we've done is, or at least this is just from my perspective only, it's like anything above the head is now about 90% of the time a flagrant foul. A flagrant 1. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to ease up on that a little bit and let these basketball plays be basketball plays. We've seen it in the men's tournament too, right? I mean, again, it's easy to criticize when your team loses, and that's what we're doing here. But I'll be honest with you. You mentioned K-State at one point had a 9-point lead, had the momentum, didn't probably take as much advantage of that as they could have or should have. But that play, I felt, took away as much momentum as anything. That they were really, really flat. I didn't go back and look at say the next 5, 6, 7 K-State possessions, but I don't think it was very good. And they seem to look at it forever. And I get it; it's a big call. I'm not criticizing that part of it. But I just thought it was a really tough call to make in that circumstance.
There's a player that I thought just played her heart out the last 2 games of the year, obviously, in the NCAA tournament. Gabby Gregory, who, I never really criticized her because her shot wasn't there as it was last year, just hitting the 3 ball. But she was better with the assists, getting the ball to Yoki. Her assist numbers were way up, so she adjusted her game. Then she started hitting some shots. She had over 20 points against Portland.
Yep.
And then yesterday, Gabby finished with 12 points. She hit 2 threes. One of them was the only one K-State made in the second half. But she was also a senior with no eligibility left. So she played her last game for K-State collegiately in that loss to Colorado. And, Gabby was the inventor of the gap goat. I mean, everybody was talking about the gap goat this year. You could see him in the stands. That was a very emotional loss for Gabby, and also in the post-game press conference shared her love for K-State.
I think right now I'm just so upset that we're not moving on, but the magnitude of my basketball career being over in college, it really hasn't, hit me yet, but I'm so thankful for Coach Mitty for allowing me to come here. I couldn't have asked for a better experience the last 2 years. I mean, I just love this school. I love K-State. Thanks, Gene and Jill. I mean, I've just had a blast, and I've just absolutely loved my time here, and I wish I could stay longer.
I'm with you, girl. I'm with you.
Yeah, those are rough because I can kind of understand where they're coming from because a huge their life just changed because she just played her last game. She could play professionally, I would imagine, but Gabby. I love her personality. I thought she was a great spokesperson for the team because she spoke her mind, but she was also very fun. The gap goat was a huge thing this year. That's going to be a player that I hope kind of sticks around. I don't know what her future is, but
a couple of quick thoughts here.
Go ahead.
I've been here 22 years, and I'll make this relatively quick, but I think what I would say is that the only thing that I've seen in my time here that caught fire like the Gap Goat was Fear the Beard when Jacob Pullen was here. That's it.
And people would wear the beers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was amazing how that caught fire. The second part, and you mentioned her personality, and I think she was a really big part of the team from a lot of factors, but personality was a large part of it. She is just one of those people that has the ability to draw people towards her. Her personality is infectious. We did a Catbacker event in Topeka one night at the end of the Catbacker tour last year, and I don't have sore throats hardly ever. I mean, literally hardly ever. But I had one that day, and her and Jace Friesen jokingly said, "Well, maybe we'll just MC tonight." I said, "Okay," and they crushed it. You know Jace, you know her.
Yeah.
You can only imagine how good it was. They were fabulous. I will always remember that about her. She will be successful in whatever she does, I can promise you that. I don't make a lot of promises, but I can promise you that.
We'll get to a phone call, then I'll give my last thought. We have another senior to talk about, and a senior that has an important decision to make. Let's head to the phone lines. The phone number is 537-1350. Bob from Manhattan has a comment about K-State women's basketball. Go ahead, Bob. Oh, do we still have him? Bob, you there?
Hello.
There you
Yeah,
are.
I'm here.
Hey, what's up, Bob?
I just, as a fan of the women's basketball team, I just wanted to say what a incredible ride they gave us and what outstanding representatives of student athletes they are. Most of them, I think, are A and B students. Gabby Gregory was everybody's sister, every father's hope for a daughter-in-law, kind of a gal. I don't know if Yoki will come back or not. I can certainly understand that, it's time to move on to do other things besides basketball because she's obviously a very big person and has, great things ahead of her. And Coach Mitty has taken some crap on X that just infuriates me. He's the one who gathered this group of young women together, recruited them, molded them into a team, had them number 2 in the nation, and he's done a wonderful job with these women. And that should not be taken lightly, as Bill Snyder would say. He's done a great job with them. This team has done wonderful things this year. If Yoki comes back, those 2 freshmen are going to be sophomores, joining a mature senior group. They're going to make a deep run next year. It's been an incredible ride, and I just wanted to say, as a K-State fan, somebody who supports K-State athletics more than I probably should, this has been a wonderful ride, and I love these girls, and everybody should be very appreciative of what they have accomplished.
Bob, great phone call. Thank you for your time. Thanks for calling in. That's Bob from Manhattan. I listen.
That's a good call.
My first K-State love was K-State women's basketball. When I was a real little kid, late 90s, I didn't catch on to football. I was doing my own thing with sports. Didn't really get a lot of Saturdays to pay attention to K-State football. Didn't go to a lot of games. But that came, in the 2000s. But 98, 99 is when I actually kind of started to latch on to women's basketball because it really picked up. And Nicole Oldie from Clay Center obviously would gravitate towards that. It was a long time in the making to have a season like this. Now, I want to continue that by saying that I don't think the ride is necessarily over. I think we look at next year and this ride continuing. Because unless something crazy happens, which I don't anticipate that happening, Sundell, the Glenn twins, they're back. Most of your bench, your whole bench, other than Rebecca Dallinger. I don't think I'm missing anybody, should be back, unless somebody jumps into the portal, but we don't know. Of course, there'll be recruiting that's done, but also the other one, Gabby's done, unfortunately, Aoki is the one we await the decision on. She has another year of eligibility that she can use. Does she decide to do so or not? We're not sure. Mitty mentioned that she may want to make that decision quickly. I asked Lee personally yesterday, and she's like, I'm not going to make an emotional decision. I'm going to take the time necessary, and there's no timetable on when this decision is going to come. So we don't know when it's going to come, but there will be one sooner or later.
Yeah, and regardless of the decision, I think the impact that she's had on not only Kansas State women's basketball, but K-State athletics and K-State in general is pretty extraordinary. You think about what her career has been like here. It would be fantastic to have her back. I think everybody would say that. But if she decides to move on and do other things, we all understand this. She's going to be a K-State Hall of Famer someday. There's no doubt about that. And she's just had a spectacular career. Well, end of story.
And I know she has major goals outside of basketball, like a professional life, like family therapy or something like that. Don't quote me on that. I'm not exactly sure if that's the formal title that she has, but I know that's very important and something she really wants to get into. So there's a lot of things she'll have to think about.
Oh, sure.
But
I would think the decision would, and again, I have no inside information, but I
don't either.
I admire her for saying I don't want to make a decision based on emotion from yesterday. Take a day or two or a week or whatever it's going to be. I don't know that it would drag on a whole lot longer than that, and drag on is probably the wrong way to even say it.
Well, and the portal's open right now.
Right.
I mean,
so I think she can make a decision, in days, for sure. Don't you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know the coaching staff would like a quick one, probably.
Well, sure.
Yeah,
but let's say she takes a couple of weeks. Okay, wouldn't that be okay if it played that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just know that if she doesn't decide to come back, I mean, is that an area they would like to go to the transfer portal for? I would imagine so. And Bob mentioned, maybe the backlash or whatever that Coach Mitty is catching. It's probably from the offensive end. Yes, the offense did not look good at all yesterday. Could not hit a bucket, missed layups. It was ugly, really was. And I've said before, K-State was phenomenal on the defensive side. Offensively, the numbers weren't always pretty. Little too much relying on the lob to Aoki to score. Not enough mid-range to outside shots going down. I think that's fair.
Oh, sure.
That probably needs to be a little bit addressed as well. Free throw, definitely needs to get better. But the direction on where recruiting goes and just I can't even say the word.
Trajectory.
Thank you. For next season, really depends on does Aoki return or not. Obviously, that would be a major factor.
Well, you're talking about an All-American, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't replace people like that easily. Most of the time you don't. But, I do have to say on Coach Mitty, they were 26-8, okay?
Yeah.
But in the same breath, I understand that when you're in the public eye like that, you're going to take criticism from time to time. Some of it fair, some of it probably not. But that's the nature of the beast, and he'll handle that just fine. I'm not worried about Jeff Mitty. He's a great man, and I think a really, really fine basketball coach, and it'll be okay.
I mean, is Aoki the GOAT? I don't know if I could give you a 100% answer on that, but I think she's on the Mount Rushmore.
Well, at least in the time that I've been here. I mean, there were a lot of good players before I came here, but that first year when I was here was the Oldie, Wecker, Kane, Mahoney. Hard to beat that group, but that's the best part I think I would say to wrap up here about the K-State women's basketball team this year. This year was good enough that it brought back those memories again like no other team in between these two. Is that a fair statement? Mm-hmm. I really do mean that. I think that's absolutely true, and that's great.
All right, let's take a break. We've been due for a break for about 5 minutes now. Let's go ahead and take that first one. When we come back, do want to go actually to K-State baseball. I know basketball is over. Doesn't mean a special ride is not taking place any longer. think we're seeing one take off. Potentially. But we'll talk about when we come back. K-State baseball, one of the hottest teams in America right now. That's coming up next. You may have missed it over the weekend because you may have been watching some, March Madness, maybe some K-State women's basketball host the NCAA tournament. By the way, one more thing on the K-State women. I feel like the program as a whole is just cursed when it comes to the second round. K-State has great history of winning first-round games. This was their 18th tournament. They're now 13-5 in the first round. That's really good. But in the second round, the last 10 times K-State has played a second-round game in the NCAA tournament, they've lost all 10.
I guess I didn't
Isn't that
realize
wild?
that.
And 5 of them were technically upsets. Wow. So including on Sunday. Meanwhile, and that comes after a sweep of the Houston Cougars, who in that series, or heading into the series, statistically had the best pitching numbers in the Big 12. 5-3 on Friday, 6-5 on Saturday, and 9-3 on Sunday. I have a lot of takeaways, so let's just start on Friday. Pete Hughes gets career win number 800. 25th coach at the Division I level to reach 800 career victories. Congratulations to Pete Hughes. Other than that, my two big takeaways actually are pitchers. First of all, I want to give credit to Brady Day, who's not a pitcher. He's a second baseman. Brady Day I'm not as educated on the Big 12 as I should be right now, but I would argue that Brady Day might be the best offensive threat in the Big 12 right now. He, like AJ just said in the update, Sunday had 5 hits. He's hitting .415. That's a top 50 in the nation batting average. Brady Day is a hitting streak of 16 games. Saw the improvement last year of Brady Day, who was a 12th round draft pick this past year. That's at another level. Brady Day has been phenomenal for K-State. And really, I would say K-State probably has 10 or 11 guys either starting or coming off the bench who could maybe come in and pinch hit. Jaden Parsons, I think, is a great example of a guy that can come off the bench. K-State right now, and I've seen this come up really these last 2 weeks, where the Batcats have a lot of guys that can come through and give you a big hit when you need it.
Sure.
And we saw that happen multiple times in the Houston series. If you want, I'll let you comment on Brady Day or the offense first before I get to my pitchers.
Well, here's the thing. I'll just say this about Brady. You mentioned the hit streak. But in addition to that, he was 8 of 15 in the series. This just in, that's pretty good. The guy can hit. He was 5 for 5 yesterday, and they finally got him out on the 6th try. He's really locked in right now. And even Ingram had 5 hits in the series in the leadoff spot. 2 more yesterday. Scored 2 runs in the game yesterday. I think I would just say that Houston didn't play the world's best defense in the series, but K-State, when they made that first mistake, both Saturday and Sunday, they jumped on it and took the game. That's the exciting part.
Who was K-State? Was it Cincinnati? Was it that Saturday game against Cincinnati where K-State, right away was making a few mistakes, early walks. And then Cincinnati took advantage of that, had a big first inning, and that's my big bugaboo about this team right now, is allowing runs in the first inning. And then you're in a hole, and you're just not off to a good start defensively. But we'll just see where that goes. The past of the past. They've won 9 in a row. I'm able to get over it. As long as they get those comeback wins, and I think they have 8 now. They have 8 comeback wins this year. So
no more games than they've played. That's pretty good too.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Tyson Abrams back, and that guy's is big. He missed 16 games due to an injury. We last saw him at the Arizona State game, which was the first week of the year, 4th game of the year. And he pitched twice, actually. He pitched on Friday, pitched on Sunday, a combined 3 innings, no runs, 1 hit, struck out 4.
He is tough. And what's exciting is if he can stay healthy with what Jackson Wentworth has done now, most everybody in this league is going to fear the back end of K-State's bullpen this spring. That's a great feeling if you can have that.
Well, you just mentioned the other guy I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Jackson Wentworth has been a machine for K-State's bullpen. As in, the last, 6 of the last 7 appearances he's had, when he comes in, you're toast. He has just delivered. He is pounding the strike zone. There's been a number of times over the last 3-4 weeks where they're looking for him for a 3-inning save, and he'll get it done in 30 pitches or less.
Well, he pitched Friday night and Sunday, okay? In the Friday night game, he went 3 innings, struck out 2, didn't allow a hit. Yesterday, excuse me, pitched 2 innings yesterday, gave up just 2 hits and 1 earned run. And he's just a 3-pitch guy who's been dominant. That's the easiest way to say it.
Yeah,
he's been dominant.
It started with that combined no-hitter.
Yeah.
Where he finished the last 2 innings with Jacob Frost.
I'm telling you, I would not want to stand in the batter's box and face that slider.
Jackson Wentworth in his last 7 appearances has thrown 18 2/3 innings, 4 earned runs on 5 hits, 30 strikeouts, 3 walks. He has not hit a batter. That is a phenomenal line. Now, before his Sunday appearance, before the Sunday appearance, let's go to the previous 3 before Sunday. He pitched a total of 9 innings, did not allow a run, did not allow a hit, did not allow a walk, 18 strikeouts. That was across 9 innings. That is unreal.
It truly is. And the
I was
run
just
he
going to
gave up
mention
yesterday
D1
was in the
Baseball
9th.
put out their new ranking. Oh, sorry about that. I thought somebody
you're
else was
good. Go
talking.
ahead.
D1 Baseball put out their rankings, and K-State is now 23rd in the new rankings for this week.
23rd in the new rankings, and their RPI is up to 19th.
Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, they've made, if you think about what it's been like in the last couple of weeks, they've gone from the 70s, I think, low 70s, to 18 or 19 in the RPI. Now, that's also playing some pretty good teams and winning a lot of games, right? Mm-hmm. This will be a huge week for them. You got Nebraska at home tomorrow, Texas this weekend.
I fell into I was looking too far ahead because I tell you what,
Don't do that.
The next 3 weeks is the real deal, because if you look at the Big 12 standings, K-State's in first. The next 3 spots, I don't want to mess this up. Maybe it's not the next 3 spots, but 2 of the next 3 spots is Oklahoma and Texas. UCF isn't too far behind. Mm-hmm. That's K-State's next 3 series, and 2 of them are on the road. But you're right. Nebraska tomorrow. Nebraska they're just outside the top 25. They're number 26, but their RPI is number 10. So that's a big RPI game, obviously. It's just a big game in general. To have in your midweek, Nebraska's coming here, and then you will welcome in Texas this weekend, which, by the way, is going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Is this Sunday Easter?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. That's why. Because obviously, typically it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, unless you're playing BYU, which BYU doesn't play on Sundays for religious reasons. But every year there's an Easter series, and it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So that's what Toyton Family Stadium will have this week. 4 pretty big games. But really the next 3 weeks, you'll have another midweek, but it'll be at Missouri State. Missouri State's a good team. K-State swept them, I know that, but still a pretty solid team. Wichita State, that's coming up again. And then mixed in is Oklahoma and UCF. Road trips there, and not too far from now will be a road trip to UConn and Northeastern. So there's a lot of road games coming up. And it's nice to see that K-State's already won a Big 12 road series and swept it against Houston, who's been doing a phenomenal job on the mound. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, let's take a look at football. Football kind of flying under the radar right now because it is spring ball, but of course NCAA tournament's going on right now. I had a kind of a week off because of spring break. Let's get back to football. Let's get back on track. We'll talk K-State football and spring ball when we come back. You're listening to Wildcat Insider. We continue with Wildcat Insider. Mitch Fortner, Wyatt Thompson, AJ Shaw. Phone number is 785-537-1350. We'll get to Some K-State football here in just a moment. We were just talking off air about how crazy it is that opening day for the Royals is on Thursday.
Oh, yeah. Gets on you fast. Get to spring training in early February, start playing games just about 10, 12 days later, and then, boom, the next thing you know, your Royals are playing at Northwest Arkansas today and then going to Kansas City. So time to go.
Well, the Royals will open up with the Twins at Kauffman Stadium. That'll be on Thursday with the first pitch at 3:10. While pregame coverage here on Cayman beginning at 2:30. And then when we get to 5:30, we will jump into K-State baseball pregame as they host the Texas Longhorns for a 6:05 first pitch. Yeah, the Royals will be at home for 3 against the Twins this weekend, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. And then they're on the road already to Baltimore starting on Monday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. All right, to football, I will admit I've been kind of out of the loop the last couple of weeks. When it's March Madness time, I'm pretty zoned in on March Madness, plus spring break was, a couple of weeks ago. So they've been back at practice this past week, and now, of course, another week, and it'll wrap up in April, middle of April-ish. And we'll have more press conferences to come. But have you been able to get to many practices so far?
Well, they've only practiced 5 times.
They've had 5 total, okay.
And I missed the first 2 in preparation for basketball. But I've been to a couple of the next 3, but it's been not full practice like I normally like to do. That changes for me tomorrow. I'm excited about what's going on. Excited about I think it's been an interesting thing to this point because they're in that learning stage with a lot of young guys. They have some, and I'll just say a handful of guys that aren't really doing a whole lot this spring, coming back from surgeries. So they're not whole or full or whatever you want to say at the moment. And yet, I mean, you can see. Really enjoyed the other day being there a little bit, watching Matt Wells coach those quarterbacks. I think the K-State fans are going to really enjoy him. I mean, it's like he's a player. He's right in the middle of all of it, and he's not that Colin wasn't. I don't mean it that way in any way, because we all know what Colin was all about. But I think the fans are going to enjoy Matt Wells. He's a good man, and he's really excited about this group. And obviously, everybody asks us about Avery every day.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, but
still got a good arm. He's still fast.
Oh, yeah,
he's looking okay.
Yeah, those things don't change overnight.
Okay,
and I've noticed a couple of other things that I'll mention here for you early on, in just the little bits and pieces that I've been out there. DJ Giddens is a really, really good football player, and people have figured it out. I think the league is going to talk a lot more about him this next fall than they did going into this past season, and rightfully so. And what a luxury to have for K-State on the defensive side, Austin Moore back. I can't describe to you, how he has grown, not only as a player in his time at K-State, but also, in just trying to be a leader. I think I would be safe in saying that he's doing a nice job there and has grown in that area. And then the final thing would be, there are just so many guys that I love the new faces that are going to come in and be impactful right away. Just throw a couple of names your way, just as an example. Dante Cephas, the receiver, would be one. I think you're going to really like Jordan Riley, the safety.
I've talked to him, and he's
a neat kid.
Yeah, he's really fun.
And then one thing for me too is seeing all those kids. I call them kids because of my age now, but those young men at the end of the bowl season, and then seeing them when spring practice starts, and just the difference in the body. K-State's so fortunate to have Tremaine Carroll as their strength and conditioning coach and overseeing that part of the program. And, man, some of those guys it pops. You can really see a difference. I'm excited for what lies ahead here, because they're basically, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday now for the next couple of 2 or 3 weeks.
Your boy Jack Fabris doing all right too.
Yeah, I haven't noticed him as much, but when I was talking about the strength and conditioning stuff, you know who really, really stood out to me, and I know you know a little bit about this young man. They really like him. He's a cornerback from Del City, Oklahoma. His name is Kenigel Thomas.
Sure. Yeah.
Wow. You can tell he has spent some time in the weight room. Garrett Oakley would be another one. So.
Well, I mean, with Kenigel, I mean, every time we get an opportunity to talk to Van Malone, and I wasn't able to go to that press conference last week.
Right.
But one of the first questions right out of the gate, Kenigel Thomas, Donovan McIntosh, those young corners.
Yep.
And because when they were recruited, when they were picked up, it's like, okay, these guys, they're very talented. This could be certainly the future of K-State. So it's like, all right, what's the next step for these guys? Are they getting close? Are they going to be in the rotation type of thing? Yeah.
Yeah. I was just, looking at some of that stuff today. And it's nice when you're in a situation where you look at like the safety position at K-State, where you have a Marquise Siegel and you have a VJ Payne and now you have Jordan Riley. But behind that, and making their way, maybe not household names yet, but like I think Wesley Fair's got a chance to be a really good football player, and Mikey Bergeron from Mill Valley. That's what I like about the spring as much as anything, is seeing those younger guys that are and Fabris would fit into that. They wanted to get him redshirted last year. He could have probably played more, but I think it will benefit him and the Cats down the road that he played some, but was able to redshirt.
I mean, and guys like, throw out another name here, Asa Newsom, hashtag my boy Asa Newsom. Haven't said that name in a while. But, he got hurt, knee injury, didn't really get to see a whole lot of that first year. But, I mean, he, along with just a number of other guys like Chidi Obiizor and Tobi Osensami, who's going to play now full-time defensive end.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much potential when it comes to breakout athletes on that defensive side that we've just seen glimpses of this past season. We got to take our break. It's the end of the hour. Hour 2 of Wildcat Insider is next.